Welcome to the Warning Track Power Hour. I am from Scat. He is Dr. Michael Worman, Esquire. On today's show, we'll talk a little bit about the Chiefs' offseason, and we'll be talking a bit also about the Kansas City Royals spring training, getting ready for the season. This will also be our season 5 premiere of the Warning Track Power Hour. So, I guess with that, let's talk about some off-season things. A little bit weird time of year for everybody. Really a whole lot going on necessarily. NHL All-Star Game is happening right now as we're recording this. But in the last couple of days, the Royals have had a couple of signings announced. They've extended the contracts of Matt Quatrero for 2026 season because of his option. They've also extended Jimmy Picolo's contract, 2030. Signed Cole Ragans to an extension. They also brought in Ross Stripling, minor league duo. Mike, of these four, which is the most important off-season move for the Royals?
Well, I think if you mean on the field, it's got to be Reagan's signing. I think Reagan's was already slated to pitch anyway for the Royals those seasons as they just avoided arbitration, so maybe they're saving some money, or they're just at least they're giving Reagan some more security down the line. And so Reagan's has been one of the top pitchers the last two seasons, or I guess season and a half for the Royals. He doesn't seem to be showing any signs of slowing down. So I think he's just building up even further from his previous Tommy John surgeries and stuff. So he seems to be kind of building stamina back. They've stretched him out last year, and he played well through the whole season basically into the playoffs. Um, he's the top of probably opening day starter unless they want to give it to Lugo. I think
Yeah,
it'll probably be Reagan's, I would guess, right?
I would think it's still Ragans. Yeah, they have had a tendency to sort of like take the opening day starter role, give it to somebody else that may not be like the incumbent type guy. But I
Yeah.
don't see changing.
But you missed one other contractor signing that was uh, the re the reunion of Ned Yost with the Royals as a senior advisor. Do you
Yeah,
think that
keep that one.
if Ned Yost and Matt Quatrero combined forces, a better, would that make Quatrero a better manager or a worse manager in your opinion? Because I think you have negative opinions on both Quatrero and Yost. I'm at least more positive about Yost because I think he was a good manager of people, and maybe not an in-game manager, but one who got the most out of his players, sending the Royals to two consecutive World Series, nearly winning two in a row, and that's without having, a lot of, really, Hall of Fame level players. It seems like most World Series teams that win have at least one future Hall of Famer. And if it's a mini dynasty like the Royals had, you would think there'd be more of those, but maybe if there's any, it's going to be Sal Perez, but he's borderline at best probably. So, I think he got a lot out of solid. He had a lot of solid players for the Royals. Gordon was really good for a while, but Hosmer, Lorenzo Kane, but
Like the
and
stock
they didn't,
is.
yeah, Moustakas. They didn't have, they also didn't have the dominant pitching. They had dominant relief pitching, but not dominant starting pitching. So it was a lot of, so he did a lot with maybe not as much as you might expect from a, you know, nearly
Yeah.
two-time winning World Series team. So maybe he is a better manager than you might give him credit for, Dr. Scott.
Well, my issue with Quatrero has always been that he's too much like Nick Yost. He's supposed to be a numbers guy and a stats backed system from the Tampa organization, but he's managed games almost exactly like Yost did. I wasn't a fan of, and I don't think you were necessarily a fan of a lot of the stuff that he did. there too. So, but yeah, so really, it's more like a time cop, time travel sort of paradox situation, Mike. I think they're the same person existing in two different timelines simultaneously. I mean, they shouldn't be allowed to come close to each other because that would be devastating. The same
So you,
matter can't interact with
so
itself.
you think
Wasn't
Matt
that
Quatraro is Ned Yost in a different
they're
timeline?
the same person?
They've somehow split apart, and now they're being fused back together in this odd
That's what I worry. That's what I worry about.
2025 world. Uh,
Yes. Time
yeah.
cop rules for time travel, Mike. You have to be worrisome that the same person may interact with himself in past or future. Yes.
Well, we are revisiting the past with our current president uh, being president of from the past, and things are going a little crazy to say the least right now. So maybe the Royals are going to do some of the same things, and maybe they will uh, you know embark on a strange and an interesting journey this season. I think aren't they favored or aren't they isn't the win total in Vegas right now 82 and a half is the over under? Are you thinking
Yeah.
over or under on right? We'll do this when we preview um baseball a little bit closer to the when the season starts at the end of March. We still have about 6 weeks away for that. But do you think the Royals are you leaning over 82 and a half wins or under? They were 86 and 76 last year. I think their Pythagorean rating was even higher. It was 90 something
Yeah.
wins they should have had. Again, maybe that's yours where Matt Catrero maybe was not the ideal manager last year, even though he did come
Yeah.
in
Costing the team. Yeah.
second for manager of the year last year. Maybe
Nick
he should have
Piccolo
come.
was actually second in executive of the year also.
Yeah, so take that.
And I don't know, at this point, yeah, I'm probably leaning towards the under, I would guess. I don't know. I tend to like to bet on the, consolation side of it. So if I'm wrong, I'll be pleasantly happy that I've lost my bet. That would be,
Mm.
I've won more games than I expected. So that I guess that's how I like sort of mentally prepare myself for that kind of thing. But I don't know. What are you thinking? I think that well, Fangraphs I think has the team at 81 wins. Their projection right now. So yeah, do you side with Fangraphs on the conservative side of the 82 and a half wins, or are you going full homer and going way over the 82 and a half when you're
I'm not gonna go way over, but I think they have a playoff chance again. I think they weren't really a fluke, so it's also that's possible to take a step back. But I think in the Central, I think they are still maybe behind Cleveland, but I think they're the second best team in the division, and could be the first best team because I think they have good starting pitching. I think you're maybe more skeptical about the impact of Jonathan India, but if they have a leadoff hitter that can actually get on base, sometimes that would make Bobby Witt's job much easier, and he would have way more RBIs and be able to get on base when people are already on base, and get more runs will be created from uh, his opportunities also down the batting order with Pasquantino and Perez. They still have Massey, they still have Garcia, they still have a lot of these young guys. And Fermin, if he's playing catcher, he had pretty well for the Royals last year. I think that makes
yeah
it a deeper lineup. We don't know exactly what the outfield's going to be, but Melendez supposedly is turning a corner. Like he always turns a corner, but
he's
he's
been turning some kind of corner for many years now.
yeah. But
Yeah,
I can talk myself into 80 above 86 was what they finished last year. So I would be and I think Fangraphs had the Royals about 76 last year at the beginning of the year, and they won
yeah,
86. So that means that Fangraphs is still under 10 under. The Royals should win 91 games this year. So maybe I'm going to go with the over since I think
yeah.
I think Fangraphs does underestimate the Royals a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the run luck that they lost last year maybe will come back and help this year. So maybe they'll be over the Pythagorean estimated record. They'll win more blow, they'll um, they won't get they won't have as many blowout wins, or maybe they'll have more blowout losses, but win more close games or something, so even if the run differential
Yeah.
is not great, they can still win more games. That's my hope. But I think some of the other teams in the AL are improved, but the Yankees are a little less good because of Soto going to the Mets. But I think the Red Sox are a lot better probably than they were last year. I guess the Yankees did add Max Fried as the pitcher. Um,
Yeah.
more pitching now, but um, yeah, I don't. It's hard to say, but I'm going to go over right now for the Royals. We'll see what happens in spring training. They start their spring training games tomorrow or Friday, the 21st of February. They play the Rangers. They don't have to travel too far to play the Rangers. They're stadium mates in
Yes.
Surprise. Um, do you think? Well, maybe this is another question. The Royals often play very well in spring training. Do you think their spring training winning percentage will be lower or higher than their regular season winning percentage?
I think historically, they seem like they've really tried to win spring training games, probably knowing that they weren't going to have great seasons. But I think from the past that we've been watching them, at least, they don't, but they tend to do pretty well in spring training. So I would expect the spring training winning percentage to be higher than the regular season percentage. They come out sometimes like winning like a lot of spring training games very quickly, and then maybe fade a bit towards the end. Um, but I don't know. I think they'll probably have a pretty decent record in spring training, but maybe not quite as good in the regular season. No, are you going to go the opposite because knowing that you're over on your leaning at this point too?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm looking at the spring training records now um, for teams. The Royals were 13-13 last year, so their 86-76 record was better than their spring training
Yeah,
record. They were 19-13 in 2023 when they had a terrible season.
yeah,
They were 8-8. I guess they didn't play that many in 2022. 2021, 16-8. So they've had some big spring trainings. 2020, that was 9-12. That was the COVID year.
yeah.
2019, 18-12. 2018, 16-13. 2017, 17-15. So it seems like they're almost always above 500.
At or above, yeah.
They were 14-21 in 2016, so that was their worst season in spring training.
And they were okay that year, but they didn't make the playoffs that year.
They were 20-10 in 2015. That was the year they won the World Series.
Yeah, yeah. But
And
they wouldn't have won two-thirds of the games, so they still would have had a
well,
worse season,
yeah. 2014,
right?
I don't see results from 2014 on the MLB. So,
No.
2015 they won the World Series with 2010, and they were a really good team. That was their best year. That was their best team. Uh, I think their record, I think only won 95 games, but they were really, really far ahead. They had a kind of a bad September. They didn't really care. They took their foot off the gas because they were doing so well that year. So I think they would. That really was a 100 something win team probably in terms of talent, I think. But yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how it correlates, but it seems like the Royals have had a lot more losing seasons in the regular season than they have in spring training. So
Right.
it's probably there. I would say you're probably right. Maybe they are more likely to have a better winning percentage in spring training because they tend to win a lot of spring training games. But I'll hope that it's better in the regular season. Um, you know, especially if they have a poor preseason spring training. Um, Yeah.
There was a Royals Review article recently that had some questions that they think the spring training will answer. Maybe we should try to answer these questions ourselves to what we expect to see from the team in spring training.
Okay.
So first question is how Jonathan India and Michael Massey split time at second base? Think they'll platoon there, or do you think one of them will end up playing the outfield most of the season?
I
I
think
think
India
just back and forth.
I think they'll probably play some second. I think India might play more second. I think simply probably because India is a little better player than Massey is. Massey still has a lot of potential, I think, but I think India has had more sustained success as a major league player, especially on base percentage. So I think usually if you're going to bat high in the order, you kind of it seems like you get pick a position as well rather than the other way around. I don't know. But I think they will probably I don't know who the better fielder is supposed to be.
It's probably pretty similar
Yeah.
defensively. I think they're both supposed to be pretty good. But it may just come down to like which position they think will be less stressful on Massey's back, because that seems to have been his like problem
Yeah, they
uh,
could
health
DH.
wise. It's been like back
They
issues.
could
So
DH
maybe if he's
Massey a lot.
playing outfield instead, maybe it's not quite as strenuous on the back, the twisting and the diving and everything. Maybe he doesn't have to do that as much, and maybe they'll prefer trying him out in the outfield instead of just
Yeah.
playing second,
And
and then have him
Garcia
be like
plays second baseman
what
too.
happens. Yeah, so
So
they have lots of coverage at second, but they could get by with an injury there, I guess.
yeah. So that's good. That's good for the Royals, I think, to have that depth in the they don't have like a weak in utility infielder. They have a stronger utility. I guess maybe thinking backup shortstop. I'm not sure who's going to play that if Witt happens to be out or goes down with an injury. Hopefully that doesn't happen. He's been healthy in his career so far. So, but still, the occasional game you want to give him the day off. It's short, but
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know if India has played much short or not, but it's kind of a minor issue. But yeah,
yeah,
I do think India will probably play more second. I think maybe Massey will DH more simply because of that injury issue, and maybe like you said, maybe play in the outfield a little bit more since I think the outfield needs more help than the infield.
that actually leads into the next question on this article was who will actually be playing in the NCAA.
Well, they got Weimer in the trade with India, so I guess he's a possibility. Um, Still Melendez, still have Isbell.
Mhm.
Um, who are the other options out
Yeah,
there?
what happened to the guy that played right field most of last year? Uh, yeah, Hunter Renfroe was in right.
Hmm.
Is he even still on the roster? I think
Renfro's
he is,
still
isn't he?
there. Yeah, they still have Renfro. Dyron Blanco is still around as
Sure.
as a potential uh guy. So Blanco's a good fourth outfielder, fifth outfielder. Um,
Yes, I
uh,
mean it's likely to be Renfroe and right, and then Isbell Weimer platooning in center, possibly, and then maybe
Melendez,
Melendez
Melendez.
and Massey maybe platooning in the left.
Yeah,
It's a lot of platoon positions if that's the case,
yeah. I don't. It's hard. Yeah, it's
which I don't like those scenarios at all. I think that it's not good, especially for young players, to pigeonhole them to. not being able to hit opposite or same-handed pitchers as they hit. If it's a late in their career scenario, maybe it extends your career if you can platoon with somebody. But if you're a young player and platooning, then you're probably never going to develop fully.
Yeah, that's one thing that you might remember that Ned Yost did very well. He ended up playing, Escobar, against righties and lefties, some of the other guys. I know you didn't like sometimes having him in the lineup as much, but um, yeah, that was something
He
that
did he did platoon uh, Ryan O'Hearn and who was the guy they brought in the next year? Like O'Hearn hit like 13 home runs in the last month of the season. The year he came up like 2016, I think. And
hmm
then they ended up like pairing him with another Ryan at first base the next year, and neither of them played well like all season. They were only facing their opposite-handed pitching. Who was that, Mike? It was another Ryan. It was another Ryan, though, wasn't it?
um,
Started with an M, I think. Ryan.
I'm just it wasn't
No, I can't.
it
My
must have been
bad.
late. It must have been later than 2016.
Would have been the next year. Would have been the 2017 or 2018 season.
I'm just looking at Royals rosters right now. Ryan Goins,
No,
no, he was a middle infielder.
I guess you should just look up when O'Hearn was there.
Yeah, Ryan O'Hearn started in
So we're
2018,
going 2019 Royals then.
2019 Royals. Ryan O'Hearn. Well, Frank Schwindel.
Sound right.
Lucas Duda. You think Lucas Duda, I think.
No.
Not Lucas Duda?
Ryan McBroom.
Oh, Ryan McBroom. Oh, Ryan
Yeah.
McBroom.
That was the other. There was two Ryans that they tried to like
Oh, there's Ryan
pair,
McBroom. Yeah.
and neither one of them played well that season. O'Hearn was okay. He walked all the time, but he like wasn't hitting the number of home runs that he hit, in that short of a span at least anyway. It took him like the whole season to get the same home run total that he had in the 1 month in the previous year.
I
But
had forgotten about Ryan McBroom.
yeah, so yeah, but that was one of those things where it's like, he clearly should have won a position was the end of the season previous year, then
Yeah.
was immediately placed into a platoon scenario with a weaker backup option, and both of them suffered, and the team suffered as
hmm
well. That's what I don't. That's a recent enough example as to why you should do that with young players.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
DH one of them and use the other one, at the position. And if they need to back up for a day, fine. But like, one of them should just win the position and go from there. If both their bats are good, then find a way to get them both in the lineup, but not platooning players to avoid the same-handed pitcher. It really affects the player's development or is it the rest of his career that if he like doesn't see the same-handed pitchers for like a whole year, that's not helping them develop at all.
well, yeah. So we'll see what happens, I guess, with the
Yeah.
Royals. Sometimes you want, I guess, the best for a team in a particular year rather than worrying about long-term development. That's a game you have to weigh with, you know.
It's maybe from like the GM level, but
Mhm.
from the manager level, and they need to win the individual games at some point, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the player development. Anyway, so next question on this list. Who will win the fifth starter spot, Mike? So we have Ragans, Seth Lugo, Michael Waka, Michael Lorenzen, likely to be the 1 through 4. Lots of options at five. Who do you think's gonna emerge? Who do you think the starter?
I think Bubic is always a possibility. Um, I guess Kyle Wright is the dark horse candidate that the Royals got a year earlier than what he was going to be able to play. He had some success with the Braves previously. Um, he's he played well. What was the year he was 2021? Was that the
I
his
think
good year with
so.
the no 2022? He won 20 games in 2022. So that's, pretty recent. Yeah, then he was injured in 2023, and 20 and in 2024 he was out the whole year. So
Yeah.
yeah, he was 21 and 5 in 2022. 3.7. Well, that's his only really outstanding season. That was like the one blip. He only had a few innings pitched in those other games, so it remains to be seen whether he can recapture that magic.
Yeah, he'd never thrown more than 40 innings in a major league season. Six
And did you
year until the 180 inning 30
mhm.
start season with 21 wins. Not bad.
And did you know that Kyle Wright, even though he had 21 wins, he only finished 10th in NL Cy Young voting that year?
This is pretty crazy.
The winning that year was Sandy Alcantara. Uh, but he had a lot more innings. He was only 14 and 9 that year, but he had 228 innings pitched. Colorado only pitched 180 innings, but still, I'm a little surprised he only finished 10th behind a lot of these other guys. Uh,
Got four more wins than anyone else on the list, even
yeah,
that
and
got
his
votes.
ERA wasn't that bad either. I don't
It's fairly high in comparison, but
319, but it was
only one guy had a higher ERA
yeah, but Aaron
on
Nola
the
was only 11 and 13 that year,
yeah, yeah.
and he finished fourth. 319 isn't it's not really a big difference between like a high two and a low three, really. I don't
Not
think, but
really.
um
That
so
used to be kind of the end all be all of Cy Young voting ERA
yeah, it was pitcher
one
wins
point. And then
originally.
wins was probably the more dominant thing was wins. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
that was the
Wins.
year that, um yeah, in the American League that year was Justin Verlander, who had a 1.75 ERA and then won the Cy Young. No Royals in the top 10. But how many Royals were in the top 10 in the Cy Young voting in 2024, Dr. Scott?
Uh, been two, I guess.
We had two in the top five, actually. Yeah, Seth Lugo finished second,
One.
and Cole Ragans finished fourth.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Bobby Witt was second in AL MVP voting too.
Yeah, so the Royals have some star power on that side now. So that's Seth Lugo is actually 15th in the AL MVP
Yeah, that's
voting.
right. He got one vote.
Yeah, one vote, one fifth place vote or something like that, whatever it would be, 10th. Um, yeah, so I know I think fifth starter. So I think maybe Wright could get it. I think Bubic is always Lynch. Is he's still around?
In the mix, yeah. Lynch and Bubic are really similar features of
Alec Marsh
lefties.
still there.
It's Marsh is there too.
So it could be it. I could see Lorenzen not even making the fourth starter. I think that's a little premature to pencil him in as number four, even though I think he's a good
Yeah.
pitcher. I think the Royals have a lot of good pitchers that were, um, and usually you need about 6 or 7 because there's going to be some injuries. So I think
Yeah,
that's the Royals do have some good depth. I think this year in starting
yeah,
pitching, and maybe that's why they thought they could trade Singer for India. Although India doesn't, like you had mentioned before we went on the air, he doesn't play a position of need really, but he's another bat in the lineup, and maybe you can't be maybe beggars can't really be choosers when they're trying to just get people who can hit. And you can maybe we can pigeonhole you can stuff a square peg into a round hole when it comes to fielding, or put more people in the DH platoon situation or whatever. But um, yeah, who do you like as the fifth starter?
so my guess probably right now would be that Wright will end up going to the bullpen. He hasn't pitched like in the minors yet, even so. I'd be surprised if he's ready to start day one of the season without at least some kind of you warm back up more than just spring training.
Mhm.
So I'm probably leaning towards Bubich probably right now. It seemed like he wanted to go back to the starting role like last season even, and yeah, it seems like he wants that role. So I'm gonna lean that way. I think right. He and Lynch kind of both have some injuries though too. So which one of them comes out healthiest? I think maybe from spring training, maybe the one that ends up winning.
Mhm.
So it could be Marsh too, really. Between those three, yeah, whichever one's healthiest will probably be the one that will end up being the fifth starter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you think that Jonathan India is actually that much different than Bobby Young was last year? Because they brought him in as a bat, as an infielder, has some power. They barely used him as the season went on. He didn't make any appearances in the playoffs then.
Yeah,
You
DeYoung.
worry you worry that India is just DeYoung part two.
Not really. I think he is India's younger, and I think they specifically traded for him at the beginning of the season, so it wasn't like a afterthought kind of trade at the end of the season to find a bench bat or something like that. So I think they'll give him every shot at least. Um, he was a pitcher. Yeah, he was he pitched did the Royals, yeah, he was actually taken in this. He's from Florida, University of Florida, like Brady Singer. He was actually taken in the first round the same year. Brady Singer, the Royals took Brady Singer at number 18. Jonathan India was picked at number 5 that year. So, uh, do you know in the first round players, the player with the most WAR selected of that 2018 is actually Nico Horner. 2018, 15.1 more. Brady Singer is number 2 with 8. Well, no, number 3 after Logan Gilbert. So there, yeah, I don't know. It seems like Singer's had a little bit more success than India has, probably because maybe he's been in the league a little bit longer. But
Yeah,
um, I think I don't know. I still like India as a possibility. Maybe I'm maybe I'm just falling for the Royals front office and their new supposedly their new outlook on life, even though it's Piccolo is the successor of um what
good one.
more. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it's just weird that you fire a guy because you don't like the direction of the program, and then hire his protege to run the team is seemingly silly. how does that change the direction of the franchise? Is it just going to continue the franchise the same way? It doesn't make sense. Most of what they do doesn't make sense. The thing that always worried me though about Indy though is because most of this, its stats come from the Cincinnati Reds and their small ballpark, and I don't know that you could expect the home run numbers that he had in Cincinnati, which weren't that impressive.
No,
Trans,
but
yeah, it's not going to translate to Kansas City. Like he had
his on
15
base
home runs
percentage
last year.
is good, and it's his on base percentage is typically a hundred points higher than his batting average, which
That's great.
no Royal ever it seems like has had. That's in
But won't the Royals like get him to be more of a free swinger then? That's always what they've done with guys is
yeah.
they don't because they don't emphasize walks. They don't stress that as being like a really an outcome that they're looking for.
Like
So
if maybe they would
my
in
assumption is that his batting average is going to sink. His power numbers are going to be worse. He's not going to have that 100 points over his batting average for his on base percentage. None of those things are going to be what you should expect.
well, maybe since he's batting leadoff, they don't care if he gets hits as much as he just gets on base. So maybe they would, I would say maybe if he's in the middle, they have him in the middle of the order, they would want him to swing more. But maybe if he's
Yeah,
leading off games, they just want him to get on base because he's in front of Bobby Witt, and then let Witt do it because Witt do what Witt does. So uh,
yeah, but that's going to break their history in order to actually like be okay with that. So,
yeah,
like with the Dayton Moore era, it's always been three swingers at every position in the lineup, especially at first. They were praising Escobar for his ambush first pitch big swings, right?
yeah,
Back in the World Series years. So, uh, even then, that high batting average or high walk rates are not something that the Royals have ever valued for any position in the lineup, let alone the leadoff spot, which is probably where you really want it. So, yeah, will Jonathan India be able to overcome the Royals franchise history at that
well,
in that
it's
category, I
maybe
guess.
Contreras is coming from Tampa, and they were more of an on base, they're more of the sabermetric, stat driven world. So maybe this would be a time where we would see that influence um, from the numbers standpoint rather than from the old school free swinging baseball approach. So they want the analytics.
Yes.
So who knows?
You'd hope for that. That's all we could do, I guess. Next question on this list, though. How will the Royals find room for all the relievers? I think we'll see some exits from players from the past from the bullpen. Make room for all these spots.
Well, I guess there might be trades for bats, you would hope, but it seems like you need more pitchers than you have. So having some people in Omaha that can pitch and come up. So, five,
Yeah,
there's probably you'll need 20 to 25 pitchers over the course of a season. It seems like most years, even if your pitching staff is 13 or whatever it is, usually
yeah,
most pitchers get injured. It seems like they get injured at one point or another. So you need at least a good half dozen uh, in that can be called up.
yeah,
So I think it's a good problem to have. It's a lot better to be have too many players and then not enough players. So maybe you can be maybe they can be traded. Maybe at least maybe they can just be in Omaha.
So do you think somebody like Carlos Hernandez or Angel Zerpa will be like an odd man out and maybe not even on the roster, let alone in the
That,
minors?
that could be. That could be. I don't know because they brought in a couple of relievers too. Oh, they brought in
Yeah,
Urcego, and then they brought in um
Carlos Estevez.
Estevez. Yeah. The so and do they is Urcego definitely the closer or is Estevez going to be?
I think Urseg probably is to start with. They've had this tendency to platoon at like all of the bullpen roles. So I mean, I really have no idea what they're going to do. They probably have four or five guys that could be a closer because they still have John Schreiber and who actually was the closer last season for most of the year, James McArthur. So they have, maybe four different guys that could be closers.
Mhm.
I just hope they don't do this platoon thing again with bullpen rules. It'd be nice to just see them actually define the roles and stick with them. But I don't expect to see that again this year either. It's become like even murkier, I think now. But I mean, it seems like Urseg should be the guy. He's had the most success in the last year or two
Mhm.
with the Royals and with the A's too. So seems like he should be the go-to guy for the ninth inning. But with all these other positions, then leading into the last section of this article, are the Royals done adding to the roster before the season starts?
I could see them adding some minor. Like you said, they added Stripling recently as a minor league addition. So they're probably going to add some people, some veterans as minor league additions. Hopefully, not to take the place of any younger players, but if I don't, maybe there'll be a last second trade before the season. Again, they have this excess, maybe excess relievers. Maybe they can turn somebody into a bat. But it seems like I'm sure I don't think other teams have a surplus of guys in the lineup that they can't fit in. Most teams, I think, are probably more like the Royals looking for more hitters. So it's hard to say. I think they're probably mostly done though.
They did say they were looking for like a corner outfield
Yeah,
that has a strong. So yeah, maybe if some opportunity presents itself to acquire someone, maybe in a trade for pitching, maybe they do jump for that. But this is historically where they brought in sort of an aging power hitter. I think we'll see that too. As
possibly.
a
Yeah,
flyer.
yeah. But they might just see what how spring training is going and then figure it out from there. So there's still several more weeks until the season starts. So which is the end of
Yeah.
March, early April. So um, yeah, but we'll see how it goes. The Royals uh, spring training exhibition season, Cactus League season. So as they are warming up, the Chiefs are ramping things down after their, I guess we could call it a disappointing season since they lost in the Super Bowl last year. Um, the Chiefs haven't made too many big roster moves. They've signed a few guys to the futures contracts like they always do to try to fill out the roster. But maybe the biggest story right now is it will Travis Kelce retire or will he play another year? What do you think, Dr. Scaff? I think it seems like the Chiefs can, they can, if he's retires before March 15th, I think they can take some of his salary off the books more easily than if he retired later. So I think that maybe is
Excellent.
sort of a de facto kind of deadline that they've set.
Yeah. Do you think it was surprising that they set a deadline, or I mean, it is around a contract, so they
I
probably
don't know
would
if they
prefer
really
to
said it,
set
but it
that.
might just be something that they've mentioned or um, I would imagine because you aren't going to force Kelsey's hand either way. Since he's done so much for the team, I don't think um, I don't think that really is like a hard and fast deadline, but maybe it's
Yeah.
something you want an inkling one way or another, maybe.
Yeah, so you can like sort of make decisions that pair for the next season better.
Yeah, I've heard that the Chiefs are interested in Kyle Pitts from Atlanta as a potential Kelsey replacement. Pitts has been kind of underwhelming in Atlanta his first few years there, but I think the Chiefs apparently still see a lot of potential in Pitts
Hmm.
as a successor to Kelsey. So maybe that would be the way they would go if they could make a trade with Atlanta.
Yeah. Personally, I think he'll be back. I think if he didn't retire like immediately after the Super Bowl, I think
Mm,
that means he probably just needed some time to like figure out if he could play. But if he like was if he knew he was done, I think he would have said he was done.
yeah.
That's my guess based on how the season performed. I'll see that he wanted to go out on a win. If he was going to go out, I think he'll be back. How are
Okay.
you leaning?
I think if they had won, he'd be out. And I think if they, even though I think he still might be out. I'm thinking he's leaning not to come back, is my inkling, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he came back. He still has a lot, I think, left in the tank. He's not an elite player like he was. I think he's occasionally elite as a tight end. Like he'll have games that he can really show
Yeah,
off his stuff, but I think he'll disappear in more games too. Like he used to be, good for 5, 6 catches every game, no matter what. And now I think it's yeah, I think he's definitely on the downside of his career. Maybe he probably won't ever get to like the 1,000 yards a season again if he plays more. Um, and most I think tight ends at this age have retired. Most football
yeah,
players are retired by 35 as well. So, but I don't know. I think I tend to think he's leaning to leave, but I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I think probably the most advice he'd be getting though is like, if you decide to leave, you won't be coming back. You can't take a year off and come back. You just won't be able to.
No,
So like, if he has any desire to continue to play, he has to continue to play. Right. But this is kind of his last chance then. So if he wants to play, he has to play now. He can't wait a year and then come back. That doesn't tend to work. So I still think he'll be back for one more season.
okay.
But it seems like the Chiefs did get a little bit of a break when they announced the new salary cap, though, for our 2025 season. Were you surprised the number was so high?
I think they had said it wasn't going to jump as much as it did the year before, but it jumped quite a bit. I think some people have said this is the Taylor Swift effect because I think Taylor Swift has brought I guess, maybe $1 billion of revenue worth of revenue to the NFL because of her fans, following the NFL now, especially also following the Chiefs now, and so we both tried before we went on the air. We were thinking, if it goes up 20-ish, 22 million to $25 million from what it was previously. I think it's going to jump up to 278 million to 280 something million, possibly.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, about $800 million total in uh,
Says
total.
over the this year's, yeah, salary
Yeah.
totals.
So yeah, I think it's good for the Chiefs because the Chiefs need as much cap room as they can swing because they have star players that are making a lot of money, and you want to be as close to that cap number as you can. Some other teams might not be that as close, but it hurts the Chiefs because every other team has more money too. So
Right. Right.
yeah, it's
They've
I,
always found a way to like get around some of their issues by converting somebody's salary, some of it to signing bonus and stuff like that.
well, they have a lot of
Moving
people.
around the big books.
Mhm. They have a lot of people that want to resign. You have Trey Smith, free agent. Michael, you have Nick Bolton, free agent. You have, I guess, what to do with Mahomes' contract that can be converted, I think, into um, down the road salary, so you can free up space early. You want to
Hmm.
want a left tackle if you can find one, unless you think Suamataia or Wanya Morris is gonna improve greatly from year one to year two. It's I think you want.
Or they can try to grab somebody or trade or free
Yeah,
agent
and
signing.
wonder what Kelce will do. So you might need tight end help. You might need you still have wide receiver issues. You don't know who's going to come back or go. Worthy's great. Rashee Rice is coming off coming off an injury, but B, possibly going to be suspended for a third of the season.
Maybe half a season. We don't know. We have no idea, right? So
Yeah. Hollywood Brown, what's he going to cost? What's if they want DeAndre Hopkins back? What's he going to cost? Um, so
yeah,
yeah, it's hard to predict what will happen. So there's so much churning and turnover in football rosters. So um, we'll see what happens. But I think having more room is good for the Chiefs. But in terms of maybe trying to find some free agent signings, it's not especially helpful because every other team has that much money to spend too. So
yeah,
that's more already than Kansas City has, even still more, and can still outbid uh, Kansas City if money is the thing that's going. So um, like, but I think you believe though the Chiefs' biggest problem is probably the offensive coordinator and whether
I do.
and why Matt Nagy still has his job, or I think the Chiefs could use some new blood on the offensive side too, in the coaching staff to try to at least get some new, fresh perspective, fresh ideas. Try to, I think, bring Mahomes back to where he was rather than continuing to down this kind of game manager path, which is where he's been going. I don't think
Yeah,
he lose those skills, but I think if you can combine the Mahomes of yesteryear with the game manager, that would be the ideal.
yeah. Well, we finally saw his downfield passing come back in the last couple games of the playoffs. So that was something we hadn't really seen in basically two full seasons.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe that's a harbinger of things to come.
Certainly hope so.
Well, I don't know how much more we can talk about the Chiefs this week, but this is the beginning of season 5, a harbinger of things to come. Uh, this season involves more Royals talk, more Chiefs off-season talk. We'll have the draft coming up. We'll have the regular season approaching for baseball. We'll also have March Madness coming up next month. Uh, for college basketball, we'll have NHL and NBA playoffs starting to uh, take shape by April and May. So we have the next couple of months. We have a lot of building up of things. Um, did you see the score of the hockey game? It's USA 2, Canada 2 right now in the
Me too in the third. Yeah.
Four Nations Cup NHL All-Star game. And we didn't really talk about All-Star games. Do you like this switch up of the All-Star games?
I think yeah, making it into this tournament, I think it has actually like sparked some interest in hockey. I think a lot of people have sort of tuned into it because of some of the antics of some of the games too. So I think this has been a lot more interesting than just a traditional All-Star break anyway for the NHL. So you think
Yeah.
other sports will follow this model now that the NHL has shown that it could be interesting?
Well, I've heard the NBA might go with the USA versus the World All-Star game.
Yeah,
Um, so that could be interesting. I think the NFL has been trying to, fiddle with its Pro Bowl uh, a lot, and I think it's had both pluses and minuses. Uh,
yeah.
it's been kind of interesting with the Pro Bowl games, but I still haven't really watched it. I think
The skills competition things I think are interesting, but it takes them out of the setting of their regular, how they normally perform in the sport. But
yeah,
so it's
baseball's
interesting, but it's
All-Star.
not all-star game.
I think baseball's All-Star game. I think they should keep it the same as it was. I
Yeah,
think,
I think of the all-star games is probably the best, right? Would you think?
yeah, it's the most. I think it's the most like a. You still see the best players, and it's played pretty much like a regular game. There's some exhibition, but it seems like the players are only in it for a short time, and they're trying their best in that short time.
Right.
So it's not like
And that's the indicator for like what makes the the All-Star game interesting is the from the different sports is it's the ones that the players try in
Mhm.
is when it matters or when it's actually interesting. The games themselves are interesting. So like I think this hockey tournament has become interesting because the players actually want to win. It's a pride for your country of origin being part of it, like why they're actually trying. And I think they actually have tried historically.
Yeah.
But the NFL and the NBA have always been like these like ridiculous nonsense
Mhm.
all-star games that which aren't interesting.
Yeah, I guess the problem with the NHL is that a lot of their players are not from those four countries as well, because you have a large, Russian contingent, Czech contingent. Some other European countries have a lot of team players that could play in the NHL All-Star game. So
Yeah.
maybe I guess you don't want a Russian team just because of the way politics are now, although those might be changing. Maybe the U.S. is becoming a great ally of Russia. It seems like over the last week or so, uh, when we're blaming Ukraine for starting the
Right.
Russia-Ukraine war. But
So yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. But like, I guess these four are the countries that maybe the most players are from outside of, I guess Russia probably is top 4 or 5, but you have the
Yeah.
Finns, Swedes, and the yeah, those I think it's yeah, I like the idea. I guess I do feel bad for the people that come from some of these other countries that would not be able to, that might be worthy of all-star recognition but are not making. But you can't have like every country World Cup type of thing either. But the one thing, I guess, the NHL, it's sort of, the NHL players are going to play in the Olympics next Winter Olympics year, which I guess is 26. So a year from now, they are going to play in the Winter Olympics. So that's, and maybe the 2030 Winter Olympics as well. So that's a change from how it's been the last couple of Olympics. So that'll be uh, good. That'll be another kind of all-star kind of break activity uh, for the NHL. So I like that idea.
Yeah.
Do you know where the Winter Olympics are going to be held in 2026?
I don't remember. I've seen it, but I don't recall off the top of
Oh,
my
oh,
head. Those,
Milan, Italy. Milan,
yeah.
Milan Cortina. So Milan and Cortina d'Ampezzo. Uh, Milan primarily hosting ice events. Remaining events be hosted in the Cortina Alpine area. Cortina
It seems like
d'Ampezzo, the host of the 56 Winter Olympics.
it seems like a lot of the Olympics are going to be shifting to like more of a multinational or at least multi-site uh, formats. It
Yeah.
seems like to
Well,
kind of help spread out some of the like dependency on how much strain is put on the cities that do host.
in the Winter Olympics, yeah, the French Alps are going to be the host of the 2030 Olympics, but then it's going to be Salt Lake City in 2034, which I didn't realize that Salt Lake City
They've
was going to host.
hosted
I didn't realize
twice before, once before.
once before. Yeah, they
Hmm.
hosted 2002.
Yeah,
That's, I mean, well, I guess this is 9 years away, and but it doesn't seem like it's been that long since Salt Lake City hosted the Winter Olympics. But we're getting old, so that was
right.
23 years ago now.
Yeah.
Um,
Nine, you said 92? 2002.
22, 2002 to uh,
2000.
2002. Yeah, 92, the Winter Olympics were in Albertville, France, and then 94 was when they went to Lillehammer, when they started switching the alternate 4 years with the um, Summer Olympics. So
Yeah.
2025 is not a, so this is 2025 is a little unusual. It's not a Olympic year. It's not I don't think it's not a World Cup year. It's kind of international sporting events wise, it's kind of a
Got off here.
quiet year.
Is
Yeah.
the basketball, the FIBA, is that 2025 then? Or is that in the same year as the World Cup year?
FIBA Basketball World Cup 2027 is the next one
Hmm. Which would be World Cup year then too.
in Qatar. The World Cup's going to be in 26. Yeah, it's going to be 2026.
Okay.
Next year. So that's going to be next year. So that's going to be
Yeah.
in, it's also multi-host United States, Canada, and Mexico.
North America.
Hmm.
Yes.
And there are going to be 48 teams in the World Cup in 2026. So, well, we have all that to look forward to in years to come. But in this year to come, we'll talk about what's happening in mainly American sports for season 5 of the One Track Power Hour. But we'll have a lot of different topics. We'll bring back our patented hard hitting and hair splitting analysis, and yeah, we have I think a lot of things to look forward to this in this fifth uh, season. Are you excited for season number 5, Better Scav? Did you ever think we were going to
Sure.
make it this far?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
not no, I don't know. But yeah, we kind of started this during the pandemic. Good, I guess, right? And I'm not I don't know. I don't know if I really thought we would still be filming this way, I guess, anyway. Yeah. But yeah. No, this is great.
Yeah, I think so too. So we hope you viewers and listeners as well think it's great. Um, as and we'll sign off here from the One Track Power. As always, I am Dr. Michael Werman. He's Dr. Andrew Scaff. We are the One Track Power Hour. Please like and subscribe to our podcast, which is available on many different podcast delivery channels, net platforms, and also our YouTube channel, which is available on YouTube. If you want to look at us while we talk, if you just want to listen to us, you can go the podcast route, or like I do sometimes, I listen to the YouTube in the car. It's easy to find. Um,
Yeah.
but if I want to hear us talk again, sometimes I I think I use if I'm listening to us, I think I look at the YouTube a little bit more than I do the podcasts. But I might be one of the few that does it that way. I'm not sure. What do you ever listen to us, Dr. Scaff?
Sometimes yeah, Spotify. That's what I end up using. If I'm in
Spotify.
the car, through Spotify.
Okay. So yeah, we're on
Yeah.
Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on
Google
um,
Podcasts.
Google Podcasts.
Yeah.
So
Apple
many.
Podcasts.
Yeah. What was the last one?
Apple
Oh,
Podcast too.
yeah. Yeah. So we're on
Mhm.
all the ones you can find. Uh,
Yeah.
and and even more. So we look forward to spending more time with you in this coming year. As always, we will probably conclude season 5 with our Super Bowl and post Super Bowl discussions, and so that's how long season 5 will last. If you're wondering at home. So we have many more weeks to come. We may take a couple of hiatuses this year. Uh, but we'll once we get to football season for sure we will go straight through. I believe that's how we've been doing it anyway. Um,
Home stretch. The last 20 weeks of the year.
yeah, um, but yeah, we enjoy doing it, and we don't, I guess, quite at this point see signs of falling apart. But who knows what this year will hold here in 2025. It's already been a strange first couple of months, so we'll next week, if we host, we will likely be I will be hosting from Baltimore, Maryland. Uh, so slightly different part of the state of Maryland from my usual Frostburg location. Other Scaff will be in either in somewhere in the Kansas City metropolitan area, whether in Olathe like he is right now, or in
Yes.
uh, the Kansas City North, which is his other
Well deserves it. You
location.
never know which side of the state line I'm going to be on.
I don't know. We don't. Yeah, it's hard to predict. Um,
Much of the same way with the Kings too, because they could be relocating to the other side of the state
that's
line.
Yeah, we'll have more
Uh,
news about stadium locations in coming weeks as well. I hope they stay in Missouri, but we'll see what happens. Um, and I guess we'll see what happens this year as well in the Warner Check Power Hour. So again, we thank you for your continued viewership, listenership, patronage, and from us at the Warner Check Power Hour, we wish you a good day.